And we're live. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you, Brianna. And thank you, Lupus LA. Hello, my name is Sanjeev Luthra. I'm the Executive Vice President at Creda Health, a digital health company focused on helping you live and manage your chronic conditions. Over the next 30 minutes or so, I'll be talking with Sarah Gorman, whose wonderful picture you see on the screen. Sarah is a lupus patient, blogger, Creda Health ambassador, and author of the book, Despite Lupus. The title of our conversation today is Living with Lupus, Why the Creda Health app and program works for me. Sarah will share her experiences and stories of living with lupus and how the Creda Health app and program has been beneficial to her personal stories. Before we get started, let me just take a minute to tell you what the Creda Health app and program is all about. The Creda Health app is an app you download on your smartphones. It's built for people who want to manage and stay on top of their chronic conditions. The app helps you track symptoms, medications, vitals, diet, and more. It gives you guidance, alerts, nudges, suggestions based on your actions and, more importantly, your inactions. And it is supported by a Creda Care crew consisting of nutritionists, fitness coaches, pharmacists, and program coordinators. In a nutshell, your personal digital assistant for chronic conditions. And the cost of the app and services, 99 cents a month, less than $1. And if at any point in your journey with the program and app, if you want to set up and manage your own individual nutrition and fitness plan with the Creda Care crew, you can do it for a whopping $8.99 a month. So $120 or so a year for your custom nutrition plans, but really $1 a month to stay on top of your chronic condition. The Creda Health app is currently available for several chronic conditions. Lupus is the one that we want to focus on for the session today, something that Creda Health has been doing for the last year. With that, let's dive into our conversation with Sarah and hear her stories about living with lupus. Sarah, welcome.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here. Always happy to talk about strategies and tricks that totally work for lupus patients. And this one does.
Thank you. On behalf of myself, our company, as well as all the people listening in and who might be listening in later, thank you for your willingness to share your stories.
Sure.
Sarah, to start, can you tell us a little bit about you? Who are you?
Okay, sure. I'll start with my diagnosis. I was 26. I was in my mid-20s when I was diagnosed, and I had no idea what lupus was. It came out of the blue. I had symptoms for about 6 weeks before I was diagnosed. I had just gotten married, and so it turned my world upside down, and I had no idea what I was in for. I ended up having to let go of my career in television production, which I absolutely loved. It was devastating, but obviously that opened up a whole new world for my book and other businesses. So that's been a blessing, which, sometimes you just have to look for the silver lining. But when I was first diagnosed, it was super overwhelming. I could not believe how many different parts of my body were affected by this disease. And some of the symptoms were they were consistent and persistent, and they'd pop out of nowhere. Some of them, I'd have a fever ongoing for weeks on end. It was just really difficult to get a handle on everything that was happening. So I personally decided, you know what, I gotta slow this train down and figure out what's really going on. So I started tracking by my own devices. And then since then, I have continued to track my disease activity, and I started using the Creda Health app. And it's made a huge difference, because it's all right there. It's everything about lupus is all right here on my phone, right? It's been great.
So Sarah, you've been living with lupus for 20 plus years.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And sorry, folks, please don't calculate her age based on my comment. But what happens to you on a daily, weekly basis with your lupus today? So do you need to stay on top of medications, your symptoms, flares, your weakness? You get up in the morning, you feel terrible. What happens? How's your daily life?
Well, just like any lupus patient can tell you, I mean, it ebbs and flows, and it goes through different eras of your disease. Right now, I still definitely track my medication religiously. I mean, I wake up and my health app tells me that I have medications to take at 9 a.m. And then it tells me again in the evening that I have more medication to take. I do track my symptoms. Just recently, I was trying to noodle out a rash that I've been having, tell you the truth. And my dermatologist and my rheumatologist were stumped. But truthfully, I used the app and I tracked it, and I am very excited about my next appointments, because I think I've narrowed down exactly what it is. And that's what happens is once you start tracking your symptoms and even your medication, you can just start to see correlations between what's working and what's not. And if you're not taking your medication, which everyone should be, but if you're not, if your adherence is dropping off, you're going to see a difference. And just being able to see those patterns emerge in an app that is just super easy to use. You enter the stuff in, and then at the end of the week, you can view and see what your activity's been. But for me to say that I can actually go back to my doctor and say, I figured something out, right? I put something together. That's awesome. That's really cool.
Yeah. So do you, how often do you see your doctors, Sarah?
I am on I see most of my doctors quarterly now. That wasn't always the case. I was on, a weekly basis. And for a long time, I was seeing my rheumatologist every 2 weeks. I was really sick for a while. But right now it's quarterly. And my doctors actually respond really well to me walking in with my report that, I'm able to print out from my, the Creda Health app. I mean, because it's all right there. And I'm no longer walking in saying, he asked me, have you had a fever and how long? And I no longer like, I don't know for sure. I mean, it was bad last week, but I'm not sure about this week. Like, that doesn't happen anymore. I'm so much more confident in the doctor's office. Like, literally, I know what's going on with my health. I can walk in and say, this is exactly what my temperature was all last week. This is what it was the week before. And we can see spikes, and we can see, again, just correlations between, lifestyle factors that I learned pretty early on were contributors to my disease activity.
Give us an example of what that lifestyle factor might be, and how do you stay on top of tracking that?
Well, again, with the app, you can customize it however you want. The lifestyle factors I tend to keep track of, and I learned this, like I said, really early on, was my sleep at night. That makes a huge difference. I also take a nap every day. It works for me. It allows me to get a full, I don't know, I was calculating 12 to 16 hours out of every day. I have 2 kids, 11 and 13-year-olds. So, once school starts again, we'll be up early, and we'll, my husband and I like to get, an hour or so after we put the kids to bed. And that just wasn't always the case. When my symptoms were terrible, I was in bed by 5 o'clock every evening. I couldn't do dinner. I couldn't be up at night. It was just, I was losing half my day. So I inserted a nap into my daily routine. and I'm able to track it on the app. There are several different ways you can actually input that. I kind of go back and forth. Sometimes I'm really structured and I really want to know exactly, like minute to minute, how many minutes I'm getting. Other times I'm like, you know what I need is an hour and a half. So, but it's just super flexible. You can find different ways to make it work for you.
So are you actually tracking things like hours slept, or how well do you feel in the mornings in the app, and kind of looking at that on a regular basis and saying, is that changing week by week, day by day?
Yes, absolutely. And I'll tell you, this summer, when the kids are home, I try to get a little more sleep during the evening so that I can be up a little bit longer because they're home. But I went through a kind of a stressful time this summer, and I could tell by the app that I needed to be getting a little more sleep. So I did. I ratcheted up how much I was getting, and it makes a difference. But even exercise and vacation, whether I'm on a travel day, whether it's a travel day on the plane, I mean, it all impacts my disease. That's the way it works. And I have figured it out. And the fact that I now have an app that actually I can input all that stuff in. I remember we did the lupus pilot, where we actually, had worked with other lupus patients on, to develop the intricacies of the app. And somebody said water intake was a huge thing. And she was like, for this price, this is what I need. I need to be able to track my water intake. And someone else said the medication reminder that's what they needed. And they just need that ping in the morning and the evening to make sure that they take their meds.
So let me just take what you said, Sarah, and see if I can play it back to you and tell me if I'm saying it correctly. So what I think I'm hearing you suggest is there were different people, all who had lupus, who were finding different things of value to them, that said, aha, what works for me is to have a pill reminder, is for me to get an alert saying it's time to take your meds. For someone else, it was about, gee, I need to record my water intake. And that's what's important to me for my lupus. And for someone else like you, it was, hours in the day that you sleep, as an example. So am I hearing you correctly saying different people are setting up the program and the app differently to see what works for them?
Yeah. Apparently, I mean, that's the feedback that I've gotten from other lupus patients using this. And that's neat, right? Because as you know, in the lupus community, we say one case of lupus is one case of lupus, right? They're all different. Everyone has, their own manifestations of the disease, and no two patients are exactly alike. So it's great that this lupus app can be customized and tailored to whatever you need it to look like. Yeah. And again, you don't have to track on if your symptoms come and go, if it's seasonal, you can, track your medications on a yearly basis, but, those symptoms you can just track at different times. Like I said, there were symptoms that just cropped up that I had kind of focused on. And so now I probably won't need to track that anymore, but I will add a medication in order to take care of that. And it's super easy to just add a new medication. It's super easy to, when, you're tapering off other medications like prednisone, or I have different doses of Cellcept sometimes. Lots of other medications that you don't take the same amount every day. And it's super easy to, again, customize whatever your dosage is into the app.
So are you saying that something like prednisone, which is what you were on with this tapering medication requirement, is something that you've been tracking in the app to kind of help you stay on top of that?
Absolutely. And the prednisone taper, for those who've done one, and anybody with lupus knows that they're not fun, and it's a huge ordeal. I mean, it can be, it just takes a lot of patience and courage sometimes to actually, go down on your prednisone, because it's what's keeping all those symptoms at bay. And so to be able to rely on something else to keep you square and know exactly when you're supposed to taper, and what you're supposed to take today and versus tomorrow. My doctor is a huge fan of pulse therapy. And so you take a higher dose one day and a lower dose the next day and a higher dose. And that's how you start to taper. Again, always check with your doctor to make sure that, whatever you're doing with your medication is recommended.
Right.
But it's super easy in the app to be able to do that.
Yeah. So tell us about, if I'm a brand new user, I download the app and I look at the app and say, oh my God, there's so much stuff I can do. It's like overkill. I mean, how has your experience been, let's say, dealing with, people behind the app who support you, are the things that they can do for you to help you say, you know what, Sarah, this is how you need to do medication tapering as an example, or, helping you use the app. Is that something that was helpful to you? And did you use that?
Absolutely. You always get a response very quickly. And there's not been one issue I've had, and I hardly call them issues, just, like how-tos, to figure out what, how best to do one thing or how best to input something else, medication, symptoms. Again, when you're customizing something, they make it so easy because there's this, I don't have it in front of me, but there's just a way that you can just choose, okay, what do you want to add now? And then you just add it and you just make it yours. And then there it is. And now all of a sudden you're tracking the symptoms or, whatever you're trying to do. It's just super easy. The people are great. Obviously, I've been a user for several months now, more than several months. And even things that I've requested have been added since I started. So it's a quick turnaround, great customer service. It's just been a super overall experience.
Thank you. So my last two questions of you, Sarah, and then we'll see if Brianna has any questions from our audience. Have you had a chance to access the Krita Care Crew, the nutritionists or the fitness coaches? If so, how have they been helpful to you?
We can even do a whole webinar about those guys. They are fantastic. I mean, they have been super. And I personally actually have not, wasn't using them for me. I was using them for my daughter. And I cannot believe how quickly they assessed the information and, synthesized what we were telling them and what we were looking for nutrition wise and, with the personal trainer. And we walked away from both saying, okay, these are actually strategies and concrete, things that we can do. Like, sometimes you meet with these people and it's pie in the sky or it's, just something that's just not going to be sustainable for you. But it has transformed our summer. It's been great. And when I think about using the personal trainer for me personally, which I probably will do down the road. She actually has lupus. One of the personal trainers on staff has lupus. That's a no-brainer. Here we have an expert who knows exactly what it's like, who knows what that journey with lupus looks like, the ups and downs. It's not a straight line. From one day to the next, your abilities, in terms of exercise and physical movement might change. And she gets that. But, she also got my 13-year-old daughter who was looking to do some training for some sports. So she just runs the gamut. I mean, it's been great. She is a dynamo and I can't say enough about her. And the fact that it's $8.99 to have access to those two people, that's just nothing, right? To have access to two experts, two different ones for continual meetings. It's great. It is a huge value, and it's just it was a no-brainer for us.
Thank you. And my last question is, so since you are a phenomenal author and blogger and all the things that you've done, what would your guidance be? So if I had to, turn to our audience here and say, Sarah, what are the 1 or 2 or 3 things that you would like to leave the audience with? This is your time to kind of tell them, folks, here's my top 3 things for you. what would they be?
Well, I would say that number one, just personally, after 20 years of living with lupus, probably the most impactful thing I've done for symptom activity and to really manage my disease, and I should say to successfully manage it, is to track my symptoms. It really has been to track my medication, to use something other than my brain, which half the time had lupus brain fog, just something, an app like this, in order to manage all the stuff that you're doing with lupus. I mean, it just makes more sense. I think number two, generally speaking, I think the more confident and the more concise you can be in the doctor's office, the better. And again, an app like this with the report that prints out on a weekly basis, that gives you the knowledge and the ammo and the backup you need to be able to say, no, I need these addressed. I need these issues addressed right now. And I really, I'm not faking. I'm not making it up. It's not all in my head, which is, unfortunately, very typical with lupus, because, sometimes we look like this, right? And those symptoms are not visible. So to be able to walk in and say, you know what, I know I don't have a temperature today when I'm in the office, but for 3 weeks, this is what it's looked like. Or for 3 weeks, I've not been able to, hold my cell phone because my joint pain's so bad, or buckle my seatbelt. But to be able to track that information and then present it in the doctor's office, that's just huge. And number three, I would say, you're worth it. Really. I mean, I think just the fact that it's $1 a month. I mean, that's nothing to spend on yourself, right? To manage your symptoms and to actually live your best life despite lupus. There I go. It's my title of my book. I didn't even mean to do that.
Thank you. I'm just going to ask Brianna. Brianna, are there any questions from the audience that we can answer in the few minutes that we have left?
Yeah, we actually are getting questions submitted in, so I'll send a few of them your way. One, I think that you may have already answered, Sarah, but Alex asking, can you write notes in the app after your doctor appointments?
I believe you can. I'm pretty sure we can. Yes. If not, we'll make sure that you can, Alex.
Yeah, that's a great question, because you absolutely have to be able to do that, right?
Definitely.
On the weekly report, I believe there's a place that you can jot down notes as you go, and so I believe they'll print out in the weekly report.
That's actually the next question that we have. What do the health reports look like, or does your weekly report tell you?
It tells you all, and Sanjeev, jump in if you want to, but it's a piece of paper, 8.5 by 11, and all the information that you've entered over the course of the week is there. So it's a weekly, it's by day, and it's going to say, did you check joint pain? Yes. Did you check fever? Yes. Did you check cold sores? Did you check, colors turning colors in the cold, or fingers turning colors in the cold? It's just gonna list all the symptoms you had. It's gonna list all the medications that you took or didn't take. So again, huge. You're not gonna get away with anything, right? With the doctor, which is the point, right? So if you walk in and you've not been taking your medication, which I get, it's hard to remember, but with the app, it's not hard to remember. But if you walk in and you're like, my symptoms just aren't going away, but you look at your adherence and it's fallen off, then you and your doctor can talk about why. And is it hard to take? Is the medication too big? I mean, I remember having a calcium pill that was literally too big to swallow. It was too much. My glands were swollen and it was too much. And so we switched to chews, the little chocolate chews, and it was huge. And, I was having DEXA scans and bone density issues. And because of that, because I was able to say, no, this isn't working for me, we changed it and I was able to get back on track.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so if I can just add 30 seconds to that, Brianna. So basically what you have in the weekly report are different sections. You have a section for medications, for vitals, for symptoms, for food. So any information that you enter, and obviously if you enter Zippo, you're going to get Zippo in the weekly report. But if you enter it, say, yes, I took my meds or didn't take my meds, it'll show up as check marks and so on.
Got it. That's great. We actually have a question for Sarah about her personal experience using the app. Somebody asked, Sarah, did using the app help you identify triggers that you didn't know you had for flares?
Absolutely. I had angioedema, which is random swelling, and I had it in my lips. It was awful. It was fine. Well, no, it wasn't ever fine, but it looked like Botox, but like bad Botox, because it was like half my lip, and then it was awful. I don't wish it on anyone, but I hear you and I see you if you've had it before. But I could not figure out again what it was, and I was able to track it back to food. It was oddly fresh herbs that was a real trigger. And so I kept tracking it, and I talked to my doctor about it, and I just cut those out. And we had tried 3 or 4 different kinds of medication, and it wasn't subsiding. So, but we nailed it in the end. And now, that's the ebb and flow. We talked about at the beginning, lupus is a journey. I can now tolerate fresh herbs. I mean, I'm 20 years in, right? So it took a while, and I did one at a time. I started with, I won't bore you with details, but I started just one, and then I added another one and another one. And, Sanjeev, if you had given me 4 things that I would say that as takeaways for lupus, I would say the 4th is baby steps. Really, it's just every little step you can take to improve your health, to manage it just a little bit better, to put lupus in the corner, right? To not make it front and center. That's all you need to do. Just one little baby step, and celebrate those, right? And, if you start using this app and even tracking one aspect of your disease, that's one baby step. That's great.
Yeah.
If you can we answer one more question?
Please, yes.
Great. Someone asked, do you get to talk directly to the nutritionist or trainer in the app?
You can communicate this is my experience, within the app, you can dialogue with the nutritionist and personal trainer. Yeah. Yes. But once you do sign up for the $8.99 a month, you get one-on-one. Like when my daughter, I called her my sister, she'll think that's funny. When my daughter met with the personal trainer, the very first meeting, she did this assessment, and she had her doing push-ups, and we were laughing, and she was picking music for it. Like it's a phenomenal experience. It's really great.
Right. Yeah, so just to add to that, Brianna, so for the 99 cents a month, you can send questions via chat and get answers from the care crew, the nutritionist, fitness coach, and pharmacist. If you sign up for the $8.99 a month, that gives you, in addition to the chat and questions you can ask, you also have one 45-minute session a month with each of those people that you can do. So you can talk for 45 minutes, or you can listen to the person for 45 minutes, or you can do a combination. But yes.
That's great. So it's $8.99 a month. We had someone ask about pricing. It's $8.99 for talking to them directly each month.
Right. That's right.
One session, 45 minutes.
One time. And you get one 45-minute session. So you can do 45 minutes. So $9 a month times 12, that's 108 for the year. And typically the cost of the nutritionist is like around that much for one time. So
yeah,
that's great. I think we have some others, but I think the one question that I think you may have already covered is, can you track your weight and food in addition to symptoms and medication?
Yes,
absolutely.
You can.
Yes,
you can.
And so actually,
here's what I would suggest, Brianna. If we can tell all your users is, download the app. When you download the app, Creda Health is a chronic condition management program. Lupus is one of the half a dozen conditions that we focus on, but we've been working with lupus for the last year. And so that's something that, we are very, very, very anxious, not the right word, focused on to help people manage. And so download the app. What you have to do is when you download, there's like 3 or 4 questions you answer, starting with what condition do you have? If you have lupus, check lupus. What's your goal in having, with lupus? Gee, I really want to manage my flares. Okay, check that box. So what we try, I know, how long have you had lupus? When were you diagnosed? Are you, below 20, above 30, 40? Some very basic questions to set your profile.
Very customized.
Very custom. And then that's what configures the app to lupus for you. And then all the, the information you get, the symptoms you get, the questions that are asked. We will not be asking you to track A1C as an example if you're a lupus patient.
I see.
So that's what we're trying to do. So download the app, answer those 4 or 5 questions, sign up for 99 cents, use the app, and send us questions. There's a little chat button on the bottom of the app. You can send us questions, blue little thing. Click on that saying, I don't know what to do. Can someone help me? And someone will help you. So
you can download and ask questions as you go and get assistance through the app once you get moving.
Yes, you can.
Can I loop back to the nutrition and the weight? Because it's such a good question. The weight for me was a huge thing to track because I know that's how I figured out how my lupus activity was like.
Really?
Where it was headed. Yeah. So that's a huge thing for me. I totally agree. So yes, you can. And then the food, I just wanted to share 2 stories from the lupus pilot because this was fascinating to me. Actually, there were 3 people. One person tracked her food and she was like, my sugar intake is crazy. And she said she just didn't realize the Oreos she was eating. And I know that's one example, but we were all like, yeah, once you track it, right, you do notice it, right? And then another person was tracking protein, and she had been using a diet, a nutrition plan from her gym, and she has lupus, and she worked with the nutritionist directly, and they were able to see the food that she'd been tracking, because again, the nutritionist and personal trainer can see your exercise and your nutrition as well. So it's like, you're not this crazy download, right? Like it's all right there. And she said, I don't think this diet is where you need to be headed. And again, you have to do what's right for you, but it was a protein issue. And so she said, let's tweak it right here. And by our next time we met together, she was having positive results. So it's exciting. I mean, it's awesome when you feel like you just have a little more control, right? Or a way to manage this very unruly disease.
Certainly. You mentioned the aspect of everything's right there. It's not a massive download, and patients so often have to constantly repeat so much detailed information to different kinds of practitioners. I imagine accessing people in the same app in the same place where they have access to that information is probably pretty helpful.
Yeah. And imagine taking that weekly report to your pulmonologist, your cardiologist, your rheumatologist, your dermatologist. I mean, the download deal is real, right? And having to repeat your story over and over again. And, but it's all right here. It's all in the app. It's just great.
That's awesome. Well, thank you both so much for joining us today. Sanjeev, is there anything else that you wanted to end in wrapping up?
No, I really appreciate the time. And folks, at any point in time, if you have any questions, my simple ask is, we are on Instagram, we are on Facebook, just send us a message, download the app. If you forget anything else, just go to the App Store, say chronic condition management. Hopefully you'll see Creda Health there. Download the app. There's a way to send us a question, all the way from, I don't know how to use the app to, have a question about what to do. Or the thing that we would love to be able to do is get your suggestions on what else can we do in the app. I mean, if it doesn't work for you, it doesn't work for us. So download the app, tell us what you'd like to see. And, Sarah can attest to that. We've been trying really, really, really hard for the last year. We did a pilot and so on. Again, all lupus specific. So I'm hoping that people have found this useful and would love to give us a try. I appreciate that.
Thank you. And if you're watching this right now, you can go to the caption if you're on a social channel watching this, and we'll have the link to go download whatever platform and device you're using so you can check it out for yourself.
Thank you. Thank you.